Are rising rents continuing to hurt the American dream?
Welcome to the show that takes up no more than 5 minutes of your time, but could help you gain massive real estate knowledge. It's 5 Minutes in Real Estate with best-selling author Shane Willis.
Hello, Shane Willis, the Pensacola real estate expert, bringing you today's episode. Today I'm going to talk about home ownership and renting. I got quite a few statistics handed to me last night and a report this morning that kind of brought up my thoughts for today's episode. There was a recent survey, and I'll actually link the survey in the show notes and on the website, by NeighborWorks of America, that says owning a home remains a core element of the American dream. We all know that's the case. When asked how important a part of the American dream is owning a home, 18% of those surveyed said is the most important part. 53 said it's very important, and 22 said somewhat important. So that means it's still the top part of the American dream. The study goes on to talk about financial stability. The survey revealed that also 81% of Americans believe that owning a home leads to a family being more financially stable. But, let's talk about renting. Let's talk about starting that process of owning a home. After about a 2-year slowdown, rent growth is starting to pick back up across the nation. Looking into 2018, rent is expected to continue gaining. More widespread rent growth could mean home buying demand stay high, as renters who can afford to move away from an unpredictably, let's try that again. It's a little early this morning. As renters who can afford it move away from the unpredictability of rising rents towards the relative stability of a monthly mortgage payment instead. Rents are continuing to rise quite a bit. I know that I own multiple rentals, and this year, I've had some long-term tenants that have not risen because they've been with me for 5, 6, 7 years. And if you're with me 7 years and you put me on auto pay and you never miss a payment, I'm not going to go that much up. But I also know of a report last year that Realty Track came out with that said 60% of landlords would rather not renew the lease and get a new tenant than to go up on rent on the current one. So there's times they're saying, yeah, we're just not going to renew it because we can go up. I have one property right now that literally this morning I was talking with the tenant and they said, we're probably not going to renew our lease. And that's okay because I looked at what they're paying in rent and it's about 10% less of what we should be paying. So it's going to be a 10% increase in rent that I'm going to do as soon as they move out, which is, 60 days, less than 60 days from now. But I wanted to bring the opposite end of that up because Forbes came out with an article November, I think it was, that I had written down the highlights from, and it says rising rents are stressing out tenants and heightening America's housing crisis. I don't know about a crisis, but it goes on to say rents as a percentage of income are now at a historic high of 29.1% compared to the 25.8% rate that prevailed from 1985 to 2000. So that means that people that are renting are almost spending 30% of their income just to pay the rent. And that's a little higher than 25%. And that causes a little bit of trouble in housing because that also drives prices higher since rent continues to rise and people are looking to get to a more stability or stableness of a mortgage versus rent. They want to go buy the property. That demand continues to rise. We've talked all week. If you haven't listened to me the last couple of days, go back and listen to the last couple of episodes. You'll hear that I'm talking about a supply crisis. So if I'm going to agree with Forbes, it's going to be the crisis on the supply side, not the demand side. But what that article went on to talk about was how they have trouble saving for the down payment necessary. because rents are continuing to rise. Now, why bring all this up? Well, there's two factors. One, if you're a buyer and you're looking at picking up a property, or you're looking at moving out and buying your first property and getting more of the predictable, historically low interest rates that are happening right now in the mortgages, and you're having trouble saving for the down payment, we need to talk. There are programs out there that can help with that, help that transition, but it takes some doing. So we need to chat about that. Two, if you already own a home, but you're looking at different investments, why not look at rental properties? Because as we've seen, and I can show charts from 1975 to where rent has continually gone up. Now, will it always go up? No, there's going to hit a crisis point. Each property is going to hit a point where it's not going to go up anymore. But historically, we're continuing to go up. And if you buy right, I have a lot of clients, a lot of friends of mine that learned this way back when. If you buy right just for cash flow and the cash flow continues to increase, it's kind of difficult to go wrong. Now, there's a lot of factors in investing in real estate. We need to discuss them. Finally, if you're thinking about moving up, meaning buy the house that you're in, maybe you're outgrowing and you need to move up. Well, we need to discuss two options. One, should we cash out now? Do we need to cash out now and sell it? Or two, should we call you what's called a move-up investor? And there's definitely some qualifications there that we need to discuss. But I guess that's three reasons I bring this. Anyways, both sides of the coin need to pay attention to what's happening. This is all, the studies that I was handed were national studies. But as I plug in our local numbers, it's no different. We match the national studies almost to the T. Pay attention to what's going on as you start to renew your lease or you start to look for a property. Give me a shout. Let's chat. We'll kind of go from there. That's all I got for you today. As always, if you have not subscribed to the email list, visit 5minutesinrealestate.com. That's 5minutesinrealestate.com. Also, subscribe to one of the podcasts. That's one of the, if you want to get this every day. We are both on iTunes and Google Play, so it doesn't matter what player you go to. And finally, if you found some value in this episode, I ask that you share it on social media. That's all I got. Talk to you tomorrow.